9 times out of 10, traders completely miss this move. They're either chasing price or they get stopped out before the move even occurs. So if you find yourself constantly behind these big swings in the market, it's probably because you're not looking at or taking account of higher time frame candle behavior. Once you do, this clears itself up and it's actually quite easy to trade. So let's break it down. This is GBPUSD. It's played out last week. And yes, we have price action here. We have order blocks, fair value gaps, internal range liquidity. But the truth is, trading this in isolation is pure noise. It's coin flip. All of the patterns that you see playing out here are pure noise because all this price action is the creation of higher time frame candles. And once you understand how higher time frame candles move in relation to one another, you're able to front run this and understand what price is going to do next. And I'm just going to walk this through as simply as I possibly can by overlaying a higher time frame candle. So this is the 2-day time frame. So for anyone that wants to follow me, you'll see that I use the 12-hour, the daily, the 2-day a lot because it gives you a guidance on what price wants to do. And what we saw here is that price is in this sort of corrective pullback if you look at the 1-hour time frame. But actually, this was the formation of bullish price action. And what we had is that price built a range right here on the 2-day time frame. This was the low, and this was the high. So you see, bearish candle. This is a bearish continuation candle. What does it want to do when its new candle opens? It wants to continue bearish, which it does. Price runs the low, but importantly shifts and closes inside the range. So from a 2-day perspective, when you're looking at this price action, you're seeing an invalidation level here. This is the 2-day invalidation. Price ran the low of its previous range and closed inside. So it manipulated, it claimed the liquidity at the low of this candle. Now, from a candle science or CRT perspective, what we're looking to see is price attack the high of the previous candle to distribute to the 2-day target. So this is an active level right here, 2-day target. What we then see is that price is bullish. It runs higher until we get this shift inside. And what price does is it builds a new range here. This is the high. And the low of the range, the low of the candle is here. And when we close this candle right here, essentially this target flips. This is no longer the 2-day target. We've had fresh manipulation. So we can delete that and we can delete that. Where is price now targeting? It has manipulated here. It's claimed it or it's raided the liquidity at this high. We're now seeing a close inside the range. So this now becomes our 2-day target. So price on the 2-day time frame, as soon as we get this close, is targeting this level here. And this becomes our 2-day invalidation level. So it's fairly simple to understand. Continuation candles, those that close above or below their previous candle, want to continue. If we see manipulation, then on the active time frame you're analyzing, price has manipulated a range. It now wants to distribute to the opposing end of the range to raid that liquidity. It's hunting the liquidity. So from a 2-day perspective, when this candle closed, we have a clear target. Now what we need to do is understand, is this a structurally sound setup? If we're going to trade distribution to this level, is the higher time frame stack, the other time frames that this 2-day CRT nests within, supporting or opposing this setup? Because clearly this was a valid 2-day setup, but as you'll go on to see, was it actually structurally supported by its higher time frames? Well, let's play this forward. So if I bring in now the weekly time frame, this is where it actually gets interesting, because the answer to the question when we're looking at this setup is yes. Why is it yes? Because we ran the low of a range right here. This is the weekly time frame. So price built a range on the weekly time frame. This is the high, and this is the low. Price runs the low of the range and closes inside the range. So using the exact same logic, we now have a weekly target. This is the manipulation level, and this becomes our weekly invalidation level. So you can see as that 2-day pullback or that 2-day distribution phase in the original 2-day manipulation was occurring, it was backed. As soon as this weekly candle closed, price is saying we actually want to distribute here. And when we get this fresh 2-day manipulation, we have a weekly target above the invalidation level. So actually thinking about shorting here is risky because price on the weekly time frame wants to continue higher. But of course, we don't stop there. We don't just accept that time is bound to the 2-day, to the weekly. We need to understand the wider swing move that is playing out in the market. So let's go up to the 2-weekly time frame. And what we see here is that there is no active target. Price closed here below the previous range. You see price closed at this specific level. So price wants to continue lower, but we did build this inside bar, which price has swept. You see the previous 2-weekly candle closed here. Price ran the low and it's currently retracing. So yes, we can say this is potentially an active target because price wants to continue lower. But from a 2-week perspective, I would call this inactive. There's no active setup right here because the most recent 2-week candle has already been liquidated there, or it's actually price has already continued lower. Okay, what about the monthly time frame? And what we see then is something very interesting. This is an active range that was built on the monthly time frame. This is the low, and this is the high. It's right there, subtle, but price closes very close to the high of the range. Price runs the low and closes inside the range. So built a range, manipulated the range, closed inside. Where are we now going to distribute? To here, monthly target. And the new monthly level that price, the invalidation level is all the way up here. Let me see if I can mark this. So this is the monthly invalidation. I can go further because actually what we saw is on the 3-month, this was also a supported short. But for the purpose of this video, hopefully this is starting to make the point. So if we take this away and we bring back the 2-day, we can start to piece this together. First and foremost, bearish order flow. So price selling off, retracing, selling off, retracing. So from an order flow perspective, we're expecting shorts. We haven't really seen anything from an order block perspective shift. We have no sell to buy. We have active manipulation. You see, built a range as we talked about, manipulated the range, 2-day target set. However, the weekly is against. So we're saying at this specific point, the weekly has manipulated to potentially distribute higher. 2-week is inactive. If anything, it's saying short because we have that 2-week candle that has not seen a continuation as yet. But the inside bar has been liquidated. But importantly, the monthly is invalidating this weekly setup. The monthly is in its distribution phase. We bring up the monthly candle right here, built a range, manipulated the range. We're already halfway through the candle. Price now, if it wants to hit this level, it needs to start that phase of attacking the liquidity at the low of the range that has been manipulated. So what reason does price have to come up here and actually complete that weekly setup? Absolutely none. So that's the swing in the market. Eventually you need to set your stall and say, I want to play a setup. I've seen a setup develop on the 2-day time frame. Yes, the weekly is against, but the monthly is distributing. And so I'm going to use this 2 weekly manipulation to play that monthly distribution. And that's the swing that plays out so cleanly. New 2-day candle opens, we see bullish price action, then you see it's just so clear. Price starts to fall away. So any of these buy to sell events are potential entries. Or you can just literally short the structure, covering the 2-day invalidation level here, because we're expecting this invalidation to be protected. We're not expecting fresh 2-day manipulation. That's already occurred. Then if you want to hold here to the 2-day target, that's a 2R, 2.5R to the weekly, or a huge 5R plus trade to the monthly completion target. And what about if you get involved here? I mean, this order block here is prime, and there's also a fair value gap right here. If you're able or willing to hold, you've got huge R multiples. And this is where news comes in. So check out my channel because I talk about how to trade news. When you're aligning this with the Forex calendar to understand this is actually highly volatile news coming out the day these setups are appearing on connected to the US dollar, this is when these moves can actually play out. Me personally, I don't always trade these huge trades. I'm more than happy to take lower risk to reward trades that I believe to be very, very low risk because I've seen manipulation occur. I understand what price wants to do. I understand the swing. So I'm happy to scalp a 1R, a 2R, whatever it might be in this area and get out before we see these higher time frame targets complete. But it's perfectly valid to hold to these levels because all you're doing is trading a monthly candle. And that monthly candle has told you exactly what it wants to do. So ignore everything in here. This is your execution. What you're actually trading is just range built, range manipulated, range distributing. And you're using that 2-day structure within the monthly candle as your entry, your trigger to play out this swing move in the market. Now, we're looking at a monthly swing, but price swings on the 5-minute time frame, the 1-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame. So price is fractal. This works just as well if you read down the time frames. You just need to understand that when you're looking at price, come back to the 1-hour time frame, all of these sort of shifts and these events, they are pure noise. You are always trading higher time frame candles. And that's literally what I teach all day, every day for free. So if you want to subscribe to this, please subscribe to the channel. I talk through a lot of different timeframes, different types of setups. So there really is something for everyone. But if you're particularly interested in intraday trading daily, 12-hour daily and 2-day candles, then there's tons of content. So please sign up here, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.